Okay, so we're going to have a look at something called factorising now. Now, factorising is basically the opposite of expanding brackets, but I prefer to think of it as finding things which multiply together to make what I've got. Okay, I'm trying to write an equivalent expression where I've got things multiplied together rather than terms added together. So, just to get us going with this, we need to remind ourselves what a factor is, because it's in the name, isn't it? Factorising, factor. So what are factors? Well, maybe this will jog your memory. We've got some factor bugs here, and I could try and write down all the factors for this number. So what are the factors of 10? I've got 2 and 5, because 2 times 5 makes 10. And I've even got 1 and 10, because 1 times 10 makes 10. Okay, so I could write the number 10 as 1 times 10, or 2 times 5. Okay, so I could write it as a product of its factors. Okay, so I wonder if you can complete these factor bugs. So you could pause the video and have a go at completing these factor bugs. Right, so let's have a look at what those what's going to be on those legs. So for this one here, 12. So what factors could we have? We could have 1 and 12, because 1 times 12 makes 12. Alright, we could also have 2. 2 times 6 makes 12, so 2 and 6 are both factors. And we could even have 3 and 4. So they're all my factors for 12. What about 13? What factors can we have? Now there's only actually 2 factors here, 1 and 13. So this is a special number. This one, we could just label this one. This is a prime number, isn't it? Prime numbers have exactly 2 factors. Now, there was a couple of other factor bugs that we had here, and these ones were expressions. They had letters in them, didn't they? So for this one, we've got 3a. Let's think about what our factors could be for this. Now, I could say 1. I could have one group of 3a, or I could have 3 groups of a. So these are all my different factors for 3a. I could do something similar with 2ab. What things could I have? Well, I could have one group of this whole thing, 2ab, or I could have 2 groups of AB, or I could have 2A groups of B, or even, actually I've noticed another one that we could have there. We could have, I need to add an extra leg. Where shall I put them up? I'll put the extra legs here. Okay. I could even have 2B and A. So there's lots of different factors there. Now, these are going to be really useful for us when we are trying to factorise. So let's have a little look at this example up here. Okay, I've got 2 terms here. Now, if I can find a common factor, then I can put them into that many groups. So for this question here, I've got 3a plus 3b. So what I could say is that I've basically got 3 groups of A. So I could have 3 groups and put an A into each one of those groups. I could do the same with the B's. I've got 3 B's there, so I could have 3 groups, each with a B in them. Okay, so in total there, I've actually got 3 groups of A and B. So what we would do is we'd write this with our brackets as 3 groups of A and B. Okay, so that's been factorised there. I've written it as 2 things multiplied together. This thing here has been multiplied by this thing here. So it's factorised. So let's have a go at some questions here. Okay, now we need to think about what the common factor is. So let's look at this one here. Let's think. If you're not sure, pause the video, write these 2 terms down, and try and make a factor bug for them. What common factors can you find? Now I'm going to take the biggest one I can find, the largest number, and the largest common factor for these two numbers is 4. Now, what do I multiply 4 by in order to get 4a? I've got 4 groups of a. So in my brackets, I'm going to have an a. How many groups of 4 do I need to make 8? I'm going to need to have 2 groups of 4, or 4 groups of 2. So I'm going to add on 2 and close my brackets. And so we can check that actually. Remember, we can expand brackets. 4 times a plus 4 times 2. So we'll have our 4a plus our 8. Okay, the next one. What's our common factor now? What's the highest common factor we can find? So these are both multiples of 3, aren't they? So 3 is a common factor. So I've got 3, and if I wanted 3 groups here, I could put a j in each group. And in order for me to make this minus 6k, if I split that up into 3 groups, how much would be in each group? I'd have minus 2 in each group. Okay, I know these questions are getting a little bit more confusing as we go, but we just need to practice these. Okay, so we're looking for common factors, and then we're saying, well, how would we make that? Okay, so 3 times minus 2k, it should be, will make 6k. We'll make that minus 6k. Right, the next one, we've got 4ab minus 6ac. Now, the biggest common factor now is going to have not just a number in, but they've both got an a. Okay, so I can bring that into my common factor and just have a look at this. I can write this as 2a. I think that's the biggest common factor. Okay, and what would I have to multiply 2a by in order to get 4ab? Well, I need to double it to get the 4, and I also need to times it by b, so that's like timesing it by 2b. Okay, and then to get the last bit, okay, so to get minus 6ac, I've got 2a. What do I need to multiply that by? Well, the answer is going to be minus 3c. Okay, so if I multiply 2a by minus 3c, I'm going to have minus 6ac all multiplied together. So if I've got numbers multiplied together, remember, you just write them next to each other. Right, just a quick note on when you see factorise and fully factorise. If something's fully factorised, then you have the highest common factor. So for this one here, I could write it like this. I could say this is 2 multiplied by 2a plus 4. Now that is factorised. That is correct. Okay, but it's not fully factorised because I could make this number at the front a little bit bigger, because these two terms still have a common factor. They've got a common factor here of 2. So I can multiply this by 2 again, and instead I could have 4. So we could have 4 multiplied by a to make 4a, and I could have 4 multiplied by 2 to make 8. Okay, so you can see here that these both have been factorised. We've both got things multiplied together. Here I've got 2 times this, and here I've got 4 times this. But this one's fully factorised because it's got the biggest or the highest common factor on the outside of the brackets. Okay, and so that is a little look at factorising.
Joash Maths.